Two Men Talking.
What is this, amateur hour?
Dude, I'm trying to record here.
Two Men Talking with Jonathan Hewitt and Patrick Newcomb.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Two Men Talking podcast. I'm Jonathan.
Patrick Newcomb here.
And we're doing this podcast remotely. The very first time we're actually trying this out. So if I'm louder and Pat sounds a little faded, that's because he's streaming through my iPad right now, and he's right next to the mic. But we're still going to do a big style.
And it's not because I'm faded.
You faded. But we're still going to do it. He's over there in Baton Rouge. I'm over here in Slidell. And we got a lot to talk about. A huge weekend for college football. We had Thanksgiving this past week, Black Friday, and then The Walking Dead, the final episode for the mid-season finale. Man, we just have a lot to talk about, and a lot of stuff, crazy stuff happened, and I can't wait. I can't wait to start. So, before we get into all the goodies and whatnot, what you drinking over there, Pat? Over there in BR?
I decided to go super southern, which, by the way, if I say what or something, it's because you're cutting in and out a couple of times. So, I have terrible hearing, so I apologize for those people listening who hear me say what about 8,000 times tonight. But I'm drinking some good old sweet tea with a little bit of rum sprinkled in there.
Nice.
What about you?
Nice. I actually decided to go with the beer. It's the Sweetwater 420. I think I've told you all about this one before. It's the extra pale ale, and it's very, very enjoyable. I like it a lot. It's one of my faves. Anyway, without the distractions, let's get right into it. So, big, huge weekend of college football. The Iron Bowl. Let me tell you something. If you missed the Iron Bowl, you missed one of the greatest games ever to fall upon us in the history of college football. Did you catch that, Pat?
Absolutely. Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about my Iron Bowl story. So, I was just chilling at my place watching it, and it was in the fourth quarter, and of course, I step out of the shower, and I see that Bama's pinned on their 1 yard line. This is awesome. Everything's going Auburn's way. As soon as I watch the game, the next play they show is the 99-yard touchdown pass. And I'm like, oh, crap. That's where Bama's getting blown open.
Well, that was the first play. I think that was the first play of that drive.
Right. So, I'm talking to my girlfriend, and I'm like, she wants to go to Best Buy because her phone's not working, and that's something that she can't live without, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was like, all right, well, let's leave for Best Buy now so I can catch the ending of this game. So the game progressed a lot faster than I thought it would, and we were kind of stuck in a little bit of traffic. I know, traffic in Baton Rouge, that never happens. But anyway, we got to Best Buy, and you know how they have like walls and walls of TVs at Best Buy?
Yeah.
Well, out of the hundreds of TVs they have, one was on the Iron Bowl. And I knew which one it was as soon as I walked in, because it was the one that had 50 people surrounded by. So I had to kind of just look. I had to stand on my tippy toes and look above people. And I'm not really a tall guy.
Not at all.
I had to kind of find a child and kind of peek over them. But most of the children are taller than me anyway. So, I kind of had to like weasel my way into a little space that I could see. But I get there and they run the play where he steps out with 1 second left.
Ooh.
And
which took like
somebody next to me, and he's like, "You know exactly what's going to happen." And I was like, "Trust me.
Yeah.
If anybody knows what's going to happen, it's me." They're going to get the 1 second back. They're going to kick the field goal. They're going to make it. And they're going to win the game.
Every LSU.
That's how they win their game.
Yeah, every LSU fan thought the exact same, and Auburn fan thought the exact same thing.
Every LSU fan is a professional cynic. So anyway. So I'm just sitting there in Best Buy watching the Iron Bowl, and they kick the field goal, and half the people are like, "Oh, sweet, he missed it," and like kind of start walking off, and the other half are just sitting there, and then all of a sudden we all just start screaming in the middle of Best Buy. Like all the people who weren't watching the game and had no idea what was going on, they were like freaking out because they're like, "What the hell is going on? That must be a really awesome TV if they're screaming like that." So that's kind of my Iron Bowl story. And I thought that was pretty funny story to share. So I heard you were in the midst of some people who had a rooting interest in that game.
Oh yeah.
Aside from America wanting to see Alabama lose.
Yeah. So I was in Kentucky visiting my dad, and two family members, I won't mention who. One of them went to Alabama. The other one's been a Bama fan for their lives, and so obviously they were cheering for Alabama. And so me, my dad, and the two other fans went to Buffalo Wild Wings to watch the game. Don't know why they wanted to go to Buffalo Wild Wings so bad, but anyway, we did. And so we sat there and watched the entire game. And the entire game, I'm like, oh, Auburn's still in it. Auburn's still in it. And then obviously when they did that 99-yard pass or whatever it was, I was just like, it's over. And I'm sure along with everybody else, I was like, let's just kind of go. Like, I'm kind of done with it. But of course, Bama fans were like, we got to finish watching this game. We want to make sure we win. I was like, it's over. Don't even worry about it. And luckily, Auburn, tippy toes their way back. And then the play happens. And obviously, what I'm thinking, or at least the Bama fans are thinking, are okay. At worst, we're just going to go into overtime with Auburn, where we're going to win, which would have happened if they would have went into overtime. I don't think Auburn was going to win that game in overtime. So we're sitting there watching it, and we see it go short, and I was like, oh, thank God they didn't. Let's go to overtime. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, go. And then I start standing up, and then I start screaming in the middle of Buffalo Wild Wings with every other fan that's not a Bama fan. There's about 5 Bama fans in the entire restaurant. And I'm just like, no effing way. And I'm just screaming until he scores. And I just like, since they're family, I didn't try to rub it in. I didn't want to be too much of an arse. But you could just see the disappointment in their faces. And I was just, it was just, just glory. I think almost better than us going to the feeling of us going to the national championship was watching that play happen, thinking that Bama fans were going to win, and then they just got their hearts ripped out. And it was just an amazing moment, I think, in everybody's lives, aside from Alabama fans. So, with that, I mean...
Yeah, it was an incredible experience. You'll never see anything end that way. I mean, it was unbelievable.
I mean, we've seen that play before, but nobody's ever seen it to end a game. And with that, I mean, that's got to be one of the greatest finishes in the history of college football. I mean, wouldn't you say? I mean, do you think it's the greatest finish? I mean, we have the Stanford Cow, band is on the field, the Flutie play. I mean, there's a couple others that people had mentioned, but just the magnitude of that game and what was on the line, and then how it ended. And the Iron Bowl is such a rivalry. It's such a huge rivalry. One of the greatest rivalries.
Well, okay, let's look at all the combination of these things. I think probably in the play itself, I think that play that we just saw this weekend was by far not only the craziest, but just like the greatest play in football history, because a lot of people will point to the bands on the field, and like that's so crazy because the band just starts marching on the field.
Right.
But here's the thing. Auburn and Alabama, this was for the division. It was
to go to Atlanta.
SEC championship game, and possibly to get into the national championship game. So while it was awesome that the band was on the field for some game, it was just that, it was just a game.
It was just
this was a huge rivalry that could decide who goes to the national championship.
Right.
It was virtually a playing game for the SEC championship. There was a lot more at stake, and so that's why. And not to mention, I think I've probably seen a field goal return for a touchdown like 3 or 4 times in my entire life.
Right, and one of those was this year when Odell Beckham took it back when we played UAB, which was awesome, but just it wasn't nearly as awesome. I mean, not to disregard Odell's play, but Davis, I mean, that is just... I mean, he's going to be remembered for the rest of his life. Like, Auburn fans are going to be talking about that for the rest of their lives, where they were, just like I know exactly where I was for the Bluegrass Miracle when that happened, and we beat Kentucky in the last second. Like that, and I'll remember this, and I'm not even an Auburn fan. And
that was Kentucky.
And that was Kentucky, and this is Alabama-Auburn, one of the greatest rivalries in college football. It was, I mean, I think it is going to be very, very hard for anyone in the future to ever top that moment. And
I will tell you that was probably okay. Look, aside from a certain sect of people in the state of Alabama and all the bandwagoners, North Louisiana, looking at you, everyone wanted Alabama to lose that game.
Oh yeah,
every single person. And so that's the best way they could have lost.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
And
not only because if you get blown out, you kind of accept it halfway through.
Yeah,
and you're just kind of like, all right, well, we're not going to win this one.
And we had talked about this
just
before.
To lose on like the most unlikely
ridiculous
play you've ever seen.
Yeah,
and to lose the national championship on that is probably the most inspiring thing I've ever seen.
But let's not discredit that, because if you look at that play again, Auburn was ready for it. They had, if you see the wall that they lined up, like they planned for that. Gus Malzahn, planned for that play. They were ready for that play. Alabama obviously wasn't. Like Danielson said, they had a bunch of fat guys on the field.
They had there to block for the field goal. Like, I understand it. It's not. I mean, it was a stupid decision to go for the field goal, but they were gonna. I think if it would have went to overtime, Auburn would have won that anyway. So
really?
It's like, well, here.
That's where we disagree.
If we send it into overtime, then we're probably gonna lose. So this is the best shot I have. So let's kick it. So they had all their big boys on the field that can't chase Chris Davis, who's probably one of the fastest, who probably was the fastest person on the field during that play. So
yeah,
nobody was going to catch him. So all he had to do was round the corner, and he was gone.
Yeah, but like I said, they had that plan played out. They had the wall, and I disagree with you, man. I think if it would have went in overtime, I think Bama would have won that game. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, that's just speculation. Thank God that play happened, and we don't have to. I mean, they're still talking about how Bama has a chance to make it to the BCS National Championship. I mean, personally, I would just be very, very upset, along with everybody else.
I'm just not being a college football fan, and that's a lot for me.
Yeah. So I mean, hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully, at least Florida State will get in there, because I think they're one of the best teams going in. But we'll get to that. So with that game though.
Yeah, let's move on, because we could spend probably forever talking about just that one Iron Bowl play.
Right.
But just look back on this weekend, and I'm counting Thanksgiving, Friday, Saturday. Well, no games were played Sunday. No college games were played Sunday. So those 3 days, this Thanksgiving weekend, which is rivalry weekend, which is awesome. But I think that's the single greatest weekend of college football that I've ever seen. Granted, we're not the oldest people in the world, but we've been following it for at least 10 years or so.
I think
at least for me, that's the best weekend I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's definitely up there. I mean, I can't really remember. Like you said, I mean, we don't have too many weekends to talk about, but I can't remember a weekend that was that exciting and that had that much going on, and so much. The Missouri-Texas A&M game was a big factor. I mean, I guess the South Carolina-Clemson game wasn't a big factor, but it was still a good game. And
you want to hear an awesome stat?
What's up?
So I just kind of did the math, and there were 23 games where the final score, the winner won by 7 points or less.
Nice.
In 23 games this weekend.
Yeah. It was a doozy, man. I mean, even the LSU game that we got to witness was crazy.
That's rivalry week, man. This is the Super Bowl for everyone everyone who's not the 3 teams that are trying to get into the national championship.
Well, even for the teams not going to their championship game, like take LSU for instance, we needed to win that Arkansas game to showcase and hopefully have a chance to go to the Cotton Bowl. I mean, it's no guarantee, but if you lose that game against Arkansas, you're definitely not going to the Cotton Bowl. I mean, you're down to one of the lower bowls. So, a lot of those teams are still trying to put that extra little bit on their resume so they can get the best bowl possible for their postseason, because it's the last weekend. It's rivalry weekend, and everybody's trying to make a case for their teams.
Hey Jay, did you happen to see that Ohio State-Michigan game?
I did not. I saw the replays of the game, and it looked like a really good game.
I love that down 1, you just scored a touchdown, you go for the 2.
Oh yeah,
you have to.
I agree with Brady Hoke.
If you go to overtime, Ohio State's gonna win.
I agree.
They were running all over Michigan in the second half, and I think if they would have tried to go into overtime, they would have got blown out. And apparently, well, not blown out because they would have only lost by 7, but apparently Brady Hoke asked his seniors and took basically a poll of what his seniors wanted to do, and they said, "Coach, let's go for it." So
I agree, man.
You gotta appreciate him, kind of, seeing what the players want to do and really being a players coach, and that'll help get the players on his side after a not so stellar 2013 campaign.
Yeah, hats off to him. I mean, you got to go out like that. I mean, if it were me, I'd want to take a chance. I mean, you can always argue the play call and all that stuff, but I'd much rather lose. I'd much rather lose in that fashion and give ourselves a chance than to go into overtime and try to dog out another, couple drives. And they're clearly the better team. So overtime's most likely you're going to lose.
I mean, I'm okay. Here's my thing about criticizing play calling. I think it's really easy to criticize play calling, and so most of the time I try not to even criticize play calling because we all have the benefit of hindsight.
Right.
But it's not so much the play call because we didn't really have time to see the play develop. He just threw it into triple coverage.
Right.
Within 2 yards. Like, you can't do that and expect to complete a pass.
Right.
So I would have done something, maybe have him roll out a little bit. But like I said, I feel like criticizing play calling after the fact is kind of
it's hard.
Not the easy way out, but it's kind of it's an easy stance to take. Whenever I remember a few years ago when the Saints played the Green Bay Packers in the first game of the season, and they ran it from the 1 yard line. They ran it right up the middle. That's what every single person would have done in that situation. Yeah,
I mean, it's that's why we pay them the big bucks to make those decisions. And of course, everybody, like you said, in hindsight, would say, "Oh, I would have done this. I would have done that." If it would have worked, then you would be like, "Oh, great call." So I mean, it's hard to judge that, and people need to lay off coaches and in that scenario. And I think it was a great call by Brady Hoke, and I'm glad they went for it. I think the seniors are probably glad they went for it, even though they lost the game. I think that's the way to go out. So, I mean, we're talking about Ohio State and, the Alabama-Auburn game. This weekend was such a big weekend for college football, everything that happened. Who do you think's going to make it now after, seeing who lost, who's still in it? And also, with Ohio State, do you think they're overrated based on their strength of schedule? I mean, you're talking about them winning by 1 point to a Michigan team who's proven that they're not very good this year.
Yeah, I think the answer to that question, is Ohio State overrated, is almost always yes. They haven't played anybody. Granted, Florida State's only played one good team.
Yeah.
I mean, the best win that Ohio State had was Wisconsin, who was number 15, and then just lost to Penn State at home.
Florida State's actually had a weaker strength of schedule than Ohio State has this year. I think the biggest difference is that Florida State has blown out weaker competition. I mean, they blew out Clemson in that marquee game on Saturday night. So they basically just walked over their competition. And Ohio State skated by some of these teams, and they do it every year. And maybe this will change next year because we're going to start doing strength of schedule and we're going to have the playoff. But every year, Ohio State sits there and they just schedule the weakest non-conference games possible. And then on top of that, the Big Ten is so down, that their conference isn't strong enough for them to play anybody. I mean, Michigan was their biggest bump in the road, up to this point. Oh, I guess you had Michigan State. Did they play Michigan State? I don't even remember if they did or not. But either way, there's not many teams in the Big Ten that you're talking about, top 10 caliber teams.
Right. And I think I personally think that Michigan State has a very, very good shot of taking down Ohio State.
Yeah, that
now,
defense,
will they?
yeah.
I have no idea. But I think they have a great chance to do it just because of that defense. I've always been of the opinion that if you have a really good defense, you are in every game, basically.
Yeah.
So Michigan State has one of, if not the best defense in college football. So I think they'll do better than people expect. But this just kind of reeks of one of those games where Michigan States are super close and then ends up losing in the fourth quarter in the last 5 minutes on some crappy call because everybody hates it kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think Ohio State's going to find a way to win it. As much as I hate Urban Meyer, he somehow pulls it out of his butt more times than not.
And Ohio State and Michigan State have not played this year.
They have not? Okay. Good. Well,
right.
Thanks for looking that up. So who do you think's going to make it to the national championship? And then who do you want to make it?
Florida State's playing Duke, so we can kind of assume they're already in. And I think Ohio State will win, so it'll be Florida State, Ohio State. But I think it should. I think whoever comes out of SEC, whether it's Missouri or Auburn, should jump that undefeated Ohio State. Or one-loss Ohio State, obviously. But
you even think Missouri?
What?
You even think Missouri should jump Ohio State? I mean, I think Auburn should for sure, just because they beat the number one Alabama invincible team that's won back-to-back national championships. And if they go out and win the SEC championship game, I think they should jump them. I mean, I know we may be SEC biased, but I mean, if you just look at the records and who they've played, I mean, it's just, I mean, I really.
I mean, Missouri's a good team. They're
a
very good team. I think I would be kind of insulted if I were a Missouri fan just because everyone's putting all this intention on should a one-loss Auburn jump Ohio State. And it's like, well, they have to beat Missouri first, and then we can start asking that question.
Yeah.
But I think Missouri just kind of they have certain elements that make a great team. Like, they have a great defensive line. And if you're going to win in college football and you have a great defensive line, if you have a great defensive line, then you're going to win in college football.
Yeah.
And you're probably in pro football too.
Yeah, I mean, if you can control the line of scrimmage,
they have an experienced quarterback, and they have an experienced just skill position players. Not only that, but they have Dorial Green-Beckham, who was the number one recruit a couple of years ago, who looks like he's starting to finally get it and all that stuff. So I think they could definitely do that. Who do you have in the BCS championship?
I have to agree with you. I think Florida State. I mean, I don't see them stumbling over Duke. And then Ohio State, I think they're just going to find a way to win. Who I'd like to see? I would like to see a Florida State-Auburn matchup, just because I hate Ohio State. But I think to this point, Florida State, whoever they play, they're going to whoop up on, and I think they're going to win the national championship. I think
if they have James Winston, which segues into our next topic pretty nicely. Who do you think is going to win the Heisman this year?
I think I want to say your boy Winston, just because of the way that he's played this year and the way his team's played this year. But I don't know how the voters are going to feel about everything that's going on. I mean, I guess you had Cam Newton had that scandal when he was trying to go for the Heisman and he still won it. So
yeah, but that was totally different. I mean, that wasn't a criminal charge.
Yeah,
that was just an NCAA infraction.
Yeah, so I think I'm still going to stick with Winston though, just because you have Manziel and AJ McCarron. AJ McCarron, he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he's a Heisman winning quarterback. I think his rings are louder than his stats. So I think it's. I'm just gonna say Winston just because of the season that they've had, and it would just kind of cap off such a great season for Florida State and them dominating the competition.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. Mine is Andre Williams, and if you don't know who he is, he's the running back for Boston College.
Really?
And this is a guy who's run for over 2,000 yards this season. And that's something that's really hard to do, especially when we move into these offenses that throw a lot, like these air raid offenses, which obviously he's not in. But I just think there's been no quarterback that's really stood out to me. Yeah, I know Winston played well, but Winston also has a lot of talent around him. And not only that, which, he shouldn't be held against. It shouldn't be held against him for that.
Yeah.
But I also think that he was able to do all this stuff virtually under the radar. I wouldn't say totally under the radar, but somewhat under the radar. And it's really impressive that Andre Williams was able to basically just shoot up because everybody started realizing, oh, this guy's really good.
Yeah,
and
but
I think, and I'm always an anti-QB guy for the Heisman. First off, let me just say the Heisman, I'm like totally against the Heisman.
Right.
Just because they claim to award it to the most outstanding college football player.
And they never do.
Should just say a running back or quarterback who's on a really good team, who has a
Right.
really good number.
Well, and that's where my argument would be is that, Williams, even though he's probably put up a lot of stats, I think that voters always look at the team and how well the team does. And
Right.
even though, with RG3 and Baylor, even though they weren't national championship contenders, they still had those marquee wins, when they
Right.
beat the snot out of Oklahoma, and he got to show off, his
but I think
60-yard
that's
bomb.
stupid. You could be the best player in college football, but be
Yeah.
on a terrible team and go.
But that doesn't.
0-12.
But that doesn't mean he's going to win the Heisman. We're talking about who's going to win the Heisman, and like I said, if you look at history, I don't think. I mean, I don't even know Boston College's record, but I guarantee you they're not very good. And even though this kid's ran for 2,000 yards, and maybe he does deserve the Heisman, based on his stats, that it's not going to happen. They're not going to vote him over Winston, whose team's most likely to be going.
I'm not saying he will win. I'm just saying it'd be nice for him to win it because.
Oh, I thought we were talking about.
I think the Heisman's lost a lot of luster just because they've proven that they're kind of full of crap.
Yeah, and I mean, so I guess what we were getting at was who do you think is going to win? Because I think that's what the question was.
Who do I think's going to win? I think probably. See, it's so hard because if it's not Jameis Winston, then who the hell is it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think a lot of people stay away from Jameis Winston until this whole thing gets cleared up. And if it doesn't get cleared up in time, I don't think he'll win.
That's my only thing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heart, and I'll say Andre Williams wins it.
Okay. All right.
But then again, I also said Kevin Sumlin was leaving for USC. So we saw how well that worked out.
Signed a 6-year extension, and which we're going to talk about in a minute, but your boy predicted that coaching change. So with Heisman though, one of the guys, the Oregon quarterback Mariota, was a preseason Heisman candidate, but he's definitely fallen off the map after everything that's gone on this season. He's recently said that he's staying and not going to the NFL draft. What do you think about that?
I kind of think that's a good move, but I mean, just because, kind of like what you said, he had a great first half, first 3 quarters of the season. Probably, I'll say first half, and then he just kind of fell off. And
yeah,
I think he needs to go back to. He doesn't need to, but I think it'd be good for him to go back to Oregon, build up his confidence a little bit, help him get to where he was earlier in the season. Rather than, because he just seems like the kind of guy who loves college and wants to be in college. So
yeah,
I think that would kind of suit what he's looking for better than now. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to pass up I mean, he'd go in the first round if he left.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people will say, if you're first round, you got to go.
Right.
It's also risking injuries. So I think he should go, but that's mainly because I think anybody who's an underclassman who's going to go in the first round should go.
So with that, who's your top?
Spot?
What's up?
Who takes his spot? Like, give me your top. We'll go top 3 quarterbacks in this class.
Okay, good. I was just about to ask you that. Okay, so for the 2014 draft, the top 3 quarterbacks, and I'm gonna base this not on where I think they're gonna be taken, but I'm gonna base it on who I think is gonna do well in the NFL. And I think that Aaron Murray, Zach Mettenberger are 2 guys that have really shown that they are NFL quarterback guys. Especially, I mean, Mettenberger. I mean, I know I'm a homer for LSU, but he's really Cam Cameron's really developed him, and I think he could be one of those steals because especially with him kind of hurting his knee, I think he's probably going to go now, probably like in the 3rd round. 3rd or 4th round, I would have to say. And I think he's going to be a nice little pickup. And then Teddy Two Gloves, I think you pick him based on his athleticism. I'm still reserved about him though. You know, I feel like he's a Colin Kaepernick type of guy. I mean, he's got a lot of athleticism, but you don't really know how well he's going to do in the NFL. I mean, obviously Colin Kaepernick's turned out to do pretty well. He's kind of had a sophomore slump or his sophomore starting season slump. But I think those three guys really can show what they're doing. I think Manziel, I don't think he's really going to be that great in the NFL. I mean, I think he's going to be more of like a Tim Tebow type player. And then A.J. McCarron, I think he's a guy that has upside also. I mean, the rings speak for himself. He's a team player. He can run an offense. So I know I gave you 5 there, but I think I just wanted to mention A.J. because I think he deserves some credit because he has won championships and he clearly knows how to run an offense.
Right. All right, well, I'll go with I don't know if I'll go with 5, but whatever. I think first off, you got to go Teddy Bridgewater at Louisville just because he has double the gloves for double the power. No, but he's just shown that he's a very good prospect. He's a guy who's a very good leader, and he kind of just gets it, you know? And, I mean, a lot of quarterbacks do get it, but he's playing at such a high level. You do worry about the competition that he's played against, but I think all in all, he'll do pretty well in the NFL. And he's looking to go probably 1, 2, or 3 in the next draft.
Yeah.
Up next, and this is kind of provided that he gets into the right system, I think Johnny Manziel will do well.
Really?
Yeah, I think, here, provided he goes to the right system. If he goes to Jacksonville and has to run around for his life and basically do what he has to do in Texas A&M, I don't think he's going to be that successful. But can you imagine Johnny Manziel in Chip Kelly's offense or something like that? Granted, Nick Foles is playing out of his mind, so that probably won't happen. But can you imagine him in some kind of mobile QB system where he's allowed to not just scramble and do read options and stuff, but kind of just get him on the pocket, get him out the pocket, and get him on the run and throw on the run and things like that. So if he goes to a place that can really harness his talent, I think he'll do really well. And then last but not least is the total opposite of Johnny Manziel, and that's Zach Mettenberger.
Yeah.
And I was trying to decide between Zach Mettenberger and Brett Hundley, and they're kind of, I mean, they're kind of the same, but I think with Mettenberger, he just has he has the big build, he has the big hand cannon of an arm. I guess it'd be an arm cannon, huh? But he can throw the ball extremely hard, and the big thing that I think a lot of people are impressed and will continue to be impressed with is his leadership and his toughness. And the big thing that you want your quarterback to do is step into his throw even when he's about to get blasted.
Yeah, and that's a big thing he's improved on.
That's something that speaks a lot to who quarterbacks are. Because if you have somebody throwing off their back foot consistently, then it's not really going to work out. So that's kind of my top 3.
And the only thing I was going to say about Manziel is that the reason why I'm so reserved about him is that I feel like the only way he could work out is if he has like 2 stout receivers that are just beast. Because I feel half of his throws are just thrown up and he just prays that they catch them. And he's
not like Denard Robinson, dude.
Well, he's not like Denard Robinson, but still, I mean, I was watching the Alabama game and I was just like, he just like kind of throws the ball up. I mean, and his boy Evans just kind of goes up and gets it because he's a good stout receiver, and so that's my only reserve about him. I mean, and then when you get into the running phase, that sometimes gets messed up. So, with that, let's go into coaching changes because we had a couple big coaching changes happen over the weekend.
Can I cut you off real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have some baseball news for you.
Uh-oh.
So, just got a text from Sports Center. The Yankees have reached an agreement with your boy for 7 years. Your boy, Jacoby Ellsbury, is going to be on the Yankees for 7 years.
7 years? Well, how much money is it?
Sir. I don't know. It doesn't say.
Well, I know they already.
Still,
they already took my boy.
Yankees are prone to give out huge contracts.
Well, they're starting to buy up people because I know they already took my boy Brian McCann from me.
Yeah, your boy B-Mac.
Yeah, so
I just thought I'd throw that in there. But anyway, let's talk about the coaching changes. And really, there's only a couple things to talk about because we were going to talk about Jim Mora possibly going to Washington, but he just signed an extension, which of course doesn't really mean that much when it comes to college football coaching. But he did just sign an extension today.
Oh, wow.
I just kind of wanted to let you know that info before you started talking about it. But let's just start off with how do you feel about Steve Sarkisian taking the job at USC?
Well, if you don't remember, but your boy Jay projected that in episode 2. So, ladies and gents, if you want to have some predictions come true, check out that episode 2. I predicted Sarkisian going to USC. I think it's a great fit for him. It's his dream job. He's got ties there, and I think he's a good coach. He brought this Washington program, which was didn't win a game, to actually being competitive, and that's saying a lot. Especially he's only been there, I think, 3 or 4 years. I can't remember how long he's been, but
yeah, I think the problem with him is that I feel like this was a move to kind of try and recapture the whole. Basically, what they did with Lane Kiffin is try and recapture the Pete Carroll magic that they had, and I like Steve Sarkisian. He's in all the interviews I've heard of him, he's a very likable guy,
right?
And obviously a good coach. But I don't know if if USC, one of the premier programs, is resorting to a guy who won 8 games for the first time in his entire career, then I don't really know. I feel like they could have done better.
Well, they had a couple guys in their sights, but I think it was almost like either they were looking too early or I don't know what happened, but sounded like they had some trouble just finding somebody that wanted to go there. I know your boy Chris Peterson.
They didn't want Sumlin for some reason.
They didn't want Sumlin for some reason, which was your prediction, which I think would have been a good fit also. But Chris Peterson from Boise State, I mean, didn't he turn it down or wasn't that interested? I mean, why does he want to stay at Boise State the whole time? What's his deal? He doesn't want to move up?
I mean, I think he's done. He's staying at Boise State just because, or he's staying at Boise State probably for the rest until he gets canned there eventually, because all great coaches get canned.
Right.
But I think one of the things you have to look at is that the success or lack thereof of these Boise State coaches. I mean, Dan Hawkins, who kind of got the Boise State train rolling, he went to Colorado and couldn't do anything. Then you had Dirk Cutter, who couldn't do anything in his next stop at Arizona State. And it's just it's more of a system. You hear things like system QB and system running back and all that stuff. I think this might just be a system coaching job. And I think he kind of knows that, and he's afraid to go and step out because he doesn't want everybody to look at him like, oh, he was winning with smoke and mirrors at Boise State. Now he's not a good coach and nobody wants him. Whereas he can kind of continue to win with smoke and mirrors in Boise State.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if he just gets them, to a bowl every year and a BCS bowl every 5 years or whatever it's been, then I'm sure he's getting paid enough in Boise to stay there. So I mean, different guys have different reasons. So props to him being loyal to a school. So I mean, we still have a lot of coaching changes to come, but I just wanted to mention that I'm up on you right now with the predictions. Sarkisian went to USC. Texas job still probably, huh?
Where do you think? Okay, so after Steve Sarkisian got the job, Ed Orgeron was pissed and he resigned. Where do you think he goes?
I don't even know.
I hope he comes back down to the SEC because he's an entertaining guy, like him or not.
Yeah, I don't even want to know. I don't have a clue. I mean,
I just figured I'd throw that out there. Do you have any other coaching changes we need to talk about?
No, I was just going to say that you predicted Muschamp to Texas, which is clearly not going to happen because he's about to get canned from Florida. And then you predicted Sumlin to go to USC. But Strong, I mean, if you predicted Charlie Strong to go to Florida when Muschamp went to Texas, that could still happen if they can Muschamp. So, you still got that on you.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. I mean, I think Charlie's going to make a move. I said he's going to go to Texas. So, other than that, we're pretty much wrapping up on the coaches changes. We'll just have to see, how everything plays out from here on out. So
So as we mentioned, last weekend was Thanksgiving. So I have a question for you. So when you sit around the Thanksgiving table, or however you celebrate Thanksgiving, what is your go-to side? Like, what's the first thing that you look for to put on your plate after you're done with the main meats? What do you look for?
I look for the sweet potato casserole.
Oh.
that's it's always like every, like, whether it's at your house or my dad's house or whoever's house it may be, the sweet potato casserole is always good, because sometimes you can have stuffing.
Always.
You can have stuffing that's not as good, and a couple of other sides that they're still good, but they're not like always good. I feel like the sweet potato casserole is always solid no matter where you go.
Yeah, it's really hard to mess that up. My go-to would be the cornbread dressing.
That's another one.
It's so good.
Oh.
And the only thing I don't like about it is that it has chunks of like hard-boiled eggs or whatever it is. I'm just not that big of an eggs kind of guy. But that cornbread dressing that I had was so good.
Well,
so that was kind of my go-to that I had to have whenever we sat down to eat.
Did you have a new one? Because I want to throw out a new one that I had, because I went to my dad's and my stepsister made a corn souffle, which was just it was so good, and probably could compete with the sweet potato casserole, but I had never had it before until now.
The sweet potato casserole I had was so good that I ate it as my dessert.
Well, I always have it as like a pre-dessert. Like, basically what I do is I eat my meat and then my sides, and I kind of go around, and I always save my sweet potato casserole till the end, and I eat that last because it's so good. And then from at that point, after I like have the pains of just having so much food inside of me, about probably the next day is when I have dessert, because I'm just so full from eating.
Can't wait till that Christmas dinner.
Yeah, I mean, Christmas dinner is always solid too. But I just love Thanksgiving, because everybody always goes out on Thanksgiving. Because Christmas, you still have like some of the similar stuff, but everybody's doing presents and singing carols and all that stuff. Thanksgiving's all about the food and giving thanks, and everybody always does it big for Thanksgiving food wise. So it's always solid. Do you have talking about side? Would you rather turkey or ham on Thanksgiving? Like, do you get more turkey or do you get more ham?
This question has to be prefaced, right? So I'm basically going to sit on the fence here. So if there is gravy with the turkey, then I gotta go turkey.
Yeah.
But we just had Thanksgiving dinner and there was no gravy, so the ham was infinitely better. so when in doubt, always go with the gravy. Well, that's some wise words for you children.
I think the gravy's awesome. Like, my dad made this gravy that was just incredible. He made it from like the turkey neck and everything, which was so awesome. But the ham for me, I don't know what it is, but I always get more ham than turkey, even with the gravy. Like, because I feel like I can eat cold ham and just be happy, and I can eat warm ham and be happy with that honey glaze or brown sugar glaze.
Leftovers, you gotta go ham.
Yeah, leftovers for sure is ham. So.
All right. So let's kind of, from Thanksgiving, another tradition that goes with Thanksgiving is Black Friday.
Oh gosh.
So did you go shopping or anything?
I did not go shopping. No, I hate. First off, I don't like shopping. Period. To begin with.
Okay. What about like Cyber Monday?
I thought about it, but I didn't do Cyber Monday. I wanted to do it. Black Friday always scares me. I mean, you see like the fights and stuff. Not that I wouldn't be ready to bow up to somebody, but I think with those crazy women in there just like fighting over like a $20 Barbie or whatever it is, it's just insane. And like, who wants to wait for 4 hours in a line just to get $50 off of a thing? Like, personally, I'm like, okay, I'd rather save my life in that time that I spend sitting in that line and spend the extra money for the gift than sit out in the cold or the rain or whatever it is and fight over
I get it.
a gift. That's just ridiculous.
What do you wish you bought anything? I guess that's my question.
Yeah.
Because I think we're more of like a sit at home kind of buy things off the internet kind of thing.
Yeah, we're definitely Cyber Monday guys. And I guess what I wish I would have bought and I didn't go for, and I probably should have, was the Xbox One. Because I kind of want one. I just been kind of waiting because I was thinking like after the year they kind of have them consistently, and I would just wait and buy one then. But now that it's like holiday season and it's cold out and it gets like dark at 5 o'clock, which really sucks. I think having that Xbox One,
sucks.
it sucks so bad. But having the Xbox One would be really fun, and especially that game I like to talk about, Rise. I heard it was awesome. So, if anything, that's what I wish I would have bought with my Cyber Monday deals. What about you?
Well, that transitions nicely into what I got for Black Friday. Bought a few things. First off, I bought some presents for the sisters.
Nice.
Mainly because they told me what to buy them.
It always happens like that.
But I also went with my dad because he needed a new TV, but he knows nothing about TVs. So I went with him to H.H. Gregg, and we walk in, and there's 50 people in line to check out. And
screw that.
You literally like have to move people out of the way to get to the back of the store. We go and grab a TV off the shelf, the one that my dad wanted. And as we're walking into line, this guy, the guy who works there, just walks up and says, "Oh, by the way, we just opened that register." And we were the first people in line, so we got there. We literally were in and out for less than 10 minutes.
That is so awesome.
We got a brand new TV, so that was pretty sweet. I also ordered a PS3 online, which should be coming in tomorrow, so I'll holler at you and let you know how
You mean
it is.
PS4? You said PS3.
What did I say, PS3?
Yeah.
Yeah, I already got one of those.
You mean you upgrading to that PS4?
I really hope I didn't order a PS3 because that would suck.
So wait, what type of TV did y'all get, and how big?
It was a 40-inch Samsung Smart TV.
He's not putting in his den, because doesn't he have like a 60-something in his den?
No. He's putting it in one of the bedrooms.
Oh, okay.
Because the color went out in one of the whatever. They hate Sony TVs because that's what happened. So, whatever.
Whatever.
But here's my question: is Cyber Monday a real thing, or did people just make that up a couple years ago?
Well, I mean, I think it's with anything. Like now that you have like Thanksgiving Savings Day or whatever it is, when people open up like the Thanksgiving night, it's all these stores. Like I'm sure Amazon started it, where it's like giving you discounts on the Monday after, because they know people aren't going to be shopping online Friday and Saturday because they're out and about. So I guess their best day they thought would be the Monday after, when people are back in the routine of things and they can go online and shop for their
like
for
when
their
people are
things.
supposed to be working and they're surfing the internet. Like
For Christmas gifts. I mean, everybody does that this time of year. So I mean, especially during Christmas.
I'm glad we kind of. Sorry, did I cut you off?
No, I was gonna say, especially during Christmas, people spend half their time looking at gifts or other things than worrying about work. I mean, it's the holidays,
Yeah,
it's the end of the year.
Gotcha. So I watched probably 3 or 4 episodes of The Walking Dead today to catch up on it, and I just got to tell you, it was pretty awesome. Okay, first off,
Mind
spoiler
blown.
alert, we're gonna talk about it. So if you haven't seen it, fast forward. And we'll give you a little time code to fast forward to, so that way you're not like trying to just surf through with no information. So that way you don't accidentally stumble upon a spoiler.
Exactly.
So if you haven't seen up until the mid-season finale, do not listen past this point unless you want it ruined for you.
We have warned you, so if you are listening, and you get spoiled, it's your own fault. So get at it, Pat.
Okay, so I thought it was pretty awesome.
The mid-season finale?
Say what?
The mid-season finale you thought was awesome?
Yeah. I thought it was awesome just because, like, first off, when he cuts Herschel's head off, that's pretty cool.
Oh, dude, if
like, you just don't expect it. You're like, oh, they're hostage. They're going to get him back. Maybe somebody gets shot. Like, and then all of a sudden the governor just chops his head off. And you're like,
that was so awesome.
That just happened.
That was so awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Was that your favorite moment in that episode? I have a better moment.
I audibly cheered whenever Michonne stabbed the governor through the rib cage.
Well, keep going. Keep naming the events of what happened, and then we'll get to that.
Wait, what?
I said keep talking about the episode and what happened, and then we'll get to that part.
And then there was a second there when I was watching. I think it was episode 6 or 7 where they kind of showed the journey of the governor. Where I started to like him. I'm like, he's a good man, and he's just doing what he can to protect his family. Oh, shit, he's crazy. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, the moment
I forgot that he is a murderous maniac.
Yeah,
My bad.
they did that to you. They were like, "Oh, this guy, he's just trying to protect his family. He's just, obviously went through some stuff." And then
deep down, he's just like you, except crazy.
Well, and then the moment he takes that golf club and whacks your boy when I forgot his name, but when they're hitting golf balls. Martinez. I was gonna say Rodriguez. On top of the RV, you're like, okay, he's back. There's no way, that he's coming back from any of that.
I was like, Martinez is endangering his people. Like, he's just doing what he can to survive.
No.
And then when he went into that dude's trailer and just stabbed him in the back, that's when I was like, oh, God. He's back.
No, once he hit Martinez, it was like, he's back. There's no coming back from this. He is
Isn't
done.
It bad that I was really happy that girl he really liked got bit?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I was kind of sad to see her just because, it was just a little girl. But, I mean, she was kind of annoying anyway. Plus, he was, like, so in love with her. And, like, everything that he took from everybody else, he deserved it to be taken.
Yeah, he totally deserved it.
His daughter's taken twice. So I kind
of have a theory that he's. I don't think the governor died.
You don't think so?
First off, I don't think the girl had the balls to shoot him.
Well, I mean, she pulled the trigger, so you think she just shot next to his head or something?
Well, I mean, you've seen me at a shooting range. We're not always pretty accurate.
Yeah, but she's standing over the guy.
I know, but look, she might have shot away or shot somebody else, or just, quite frankly, missed, or just shot him somewhere else rather than the head. But I don't understand why they would. I guess just because they want to set up a whole new storyline rather than Rick versus the governor. But I don't understand why they would kill off the governor. I guess I just didn't want.
I think it's
a whole stagnant plot line kind of thing, like
right.
On the farm.
I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, I think they're just like moving on from the governor. He was such a big part of season 3, and now he was half of season 4. I think it was about time. I mean, obviously we had talked about before, you can't kill off Rick or Carl or anybody like that. So that's not going to happen. But some of these other people you can, and you need to progress a story. You can't have the same threat the entire time. New stuff needs to pop in.
The problem with the governor is that we never got to see his full potential. Like he killed more of his own people than he did actually, like even try to kill Rick's people. You know?
Because he's batshit crazy.
Well, I understand that, but he's supposed to be like the supervillain. But he was just like a crazy person.
Well, supervillain, crazy person. I mean, I guess that's a line drawn there or whatever, but it's very tight. But the dude's crazy. He obviously showed his potential in terms of how crazy he is. So,
like in real life, we call those people serial killers.
Well, obviously, he's a serial killer. He just mowed down his whole town. But I think my favorite part of that episode was when the lesbian chick was trying to kill Tyrese, and then all of a sudden she gets shot in the forehead, and they show the like 12-year-old girls, or they're not even 12, they're like 10, and the 10-year-old girl who shot her right in the forehead. I stood up and I was like, hell yes, that's my girl. Way to take it to her. Like, she's the new Carl from season 2, or when Carl was kind of going crazy. Like, this girl's gonna be the new crazy Carl.
Yeah. So I have a question. What is your prediction for what happened to Judith, the baby?
I think those little girls took her, and I actually think what's gonna happen is like they're gonna have this little pack of that girl who shot the lesbian. They're gonna have a nice little like survival pack until they can meet up with another adult. But you're gonna kind of see these little girls survive and use the tools that Carol had taught them how to survive.
Yeah,
and obviously
they're with Tyrese, huh?
Oh yeah, they are with Tyrese. So I think but I do think that little group took Judith, because before they took the guns, they had Judith.
See, I think the people on the bus took Judith.
Yeah, but she wasn't on the bus yet, I don't think, whenever, right before Maggie left off with Glenn.
Well, I think like maybe Glenn or somebody ran out, saw the baby, grabbed her, and then came back, and then they just took off. But I think that's a really interesting plot line. We basically have everyone scattered about with a crap ton of walkers coming at them.
Right.
But like they can't do anything about it because they're all scattered. Like I think that's going to set up a really cool storyline for
the second
next,
part.
well,
yeah.
I guess not the next season. The next half of the season.
The next half. Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. See the rest of the season and there's a lot of things they left open and a lot of crazy stuff that happened in the final finale. Not the final finale, but the finale of this mid-season. I think that can transition very, very well into the next season. I mean, just the sheer fact that they're all scattered, I think it's definitely going to take them a couple episodes to find every single person. I think even Carol's going to come back and at some point and find somebody. So it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, she will definitely.
It's going to be crazy.
She's not.
It's going to be awesome. It was a great episode, and this next mid-season is going to be, or the second half of the season is going to be awesome. But speaking of crazy people, I wanted to tell you that I saw a article the other day, and what it was about was so Kim Kardashian, your girl, everybody knows who she is, reality TV star, made famous because she made a porno, got her own TV show. All these girls love her, keeping up with the Kardashians, which I think is just the most ridiculous thing ever. But anyway, so everybody would sit there and see that she's donating her clothes to eBay, or not donating, but selling her clothes on eBay, and she was going to donate some of the profits to the tsunami victims over in the Philippines.
Yeah.
So anybody starting to read that would think, oh, well, good for her. She's actually, seems like she's doing a good thing for the people over there. Well, pump the brakes a little bit, because apparently only 10% of the profits are actually going to the victims, and then the other 90% are going to her. So what do you feel about that?
With a lot of these charities, they take some, they have to pay all their employees, and they have to, do all this stuff. So, it just kind of happens. No, I'm clearly messing.
I was about to say, there is no charity about her. She's freaking rich. I mean, she just had a baby with your boy Kanye, so she know.
I can guarantee you what it is that they wanted some positive PR, and they tried to get it through donating. But they weren't really. I mean, they were donating, but it's like, hey, I just made $1 million. Here's 3 pennies.
I'd almost rather them not donate anything at all than to do that. I think that's just kind of messed up. Like, I mean, come on. I mean, you're not poor. You're not struggling.
Like, the only way that's okay is if she says 10% of the profits will go to charity, not like profits will go to charity.
I think the only way it's okay if it's the other way around. 90% of the proceeds are going to charity.
No. But what I'm saying is, like, she should have clarified that, hey, like, instead of saying, oh, buy my clothes, profits are going to charity, she should have said, hey, buy my clothes, 10% of all the profits I make will go to charity.
Right.
Then people will be like, really? Only 10%? But, like, it won't be as bad as being like, oh,
like, if she's
everyone.
Right.
So
if she's just upfront and honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, that could work. And then, I mean, I'm not saying you have to give the whole thing. I mean, obviously, if you want to make money, who's going to blame you there? But don't sit there and play this game of, ooh, I'm doing this for charity, and only 10% of it's going to them. I mean, at least give them half. At least.
Right.
You don't need the money. It's just your freaking clothes. You already bought them anyway. It's not like she's just straight now getting out of her pocket. She's just making money off the stuff that she's already worn.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's just one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen, and almost as bad as Miley Cyrus licking herself.
We're going to kind of transition into something a little more serious, and really we're running out of time, so we're just going to hit on this and then probably do maybe one more. This might be the last thing we talk about. We might only do one more after this.
Yeah.
But I just kind of want to talk about Paul Walker real quickly. He passed away, which I'm sure a lot of people saw pretty suddenly. And I think he look, I understand that some of the movies he made probably weren't the best.
Yeah.
But he always seemed like a good guy, and really what he was doing was he was there. He was at a car show to benefit to actually benefit the people in the Philippines rather than Kim Kardashian. And he was at a car show, and his friend wanted to take him for a spin. in a Porsche, and so he said, yeah, and then that's kind of when it happened. So that sucks that he died from a charity event, like leaving a charity event, basically.
Right.
And that's just something that sucks. Let's just be honest. There are certain celebrities that if they die, the world may be a better place. But,
right.
But he's definitely one of those people who. Well, you didn't really hear a lot about him from the news, but in this case, it was a good thing because it means he wasn't getting into trouble, and he just seemed like an all around good guy.
Right.
And one thing to point out before I give you the floor, I totally forgot he was in Varsity Blues. Totally forgot about.
Yeah,
that.
he was a quarterback that got hurt.
Yeah. I totally forgot he was in it.
Yeah, and in us growing up, he made that first Fast and Furious movie, and I think it came out right around like before I got into cars. I couldn't drive yet, but you're at that stage where you're starting to think about can't wait to get your driver's license. I think it was like a couple years before I got my license. So then the Need for Speed games came out and all that. So he had a big part of that franchise, and that even though those movies were over the top, they did have a big impact on people. Everybody thought they were very entertaining, and he did make some pretty decent movies. And to see somebody that was doing this for charity, at least he was doing something that was positive, and he wasn't just taking out a car ride for, trying to race somebody on the street and endangering lives other than his own. It was something that he was trying to do for charity. And it looks like the Porsche that he used, actually the engine's like in the middle of the car. So that's probably, part of the reason too why it was such a fiery crash. And killed him pretty instantly or whatever it was. And the irony is crazy, that he had such a huge impact on these movies in terms of Fast and Furious, and he dies in a car crash. I feel like that just it's crazy how some of that happens. Heath Ledger died before his. He had never really had a huge, I guess movie role in terms of like him showing his talents. And right before his, at least in my opinion, now I'm a huge Batman fan, but right before his greatest acting moment, he dies, and he doesn't even get to see the premiere of the movie. It's just kind of crazy. And
I wouldn't say ironic. I would just say it's I guess you could say it's ironic. It's also just very unfortunate coincidence.
Right.
But,
just like
like I said, I don't know. It's hard to transition out of something like that. But is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, let's just that's kind of a negative note. So how's let me just get an update on how's your fantasy teams doing this year?
Well, the Fap Dragons, we've lost 2 in a row, but it was good enough to fall face first into the playoffs.
Yeah.
As the lowest ranked seed in the playoffs, but it's okay because all my hurt players are coming back. So we should be good. I'm actually pretty confident. I'm pretty confident that we're gonna win. No, I'm not. We're gonna lose. We're gonna get crushed. But hey, at least I'm not in last place like somebody.
Yeah, and he's referring to me. And I've pretty much given up on fantasy. 3 out of the 4 leagues, I'm not even close to making the playoffs that I'm in. One of them, I think I am gonna make the playoffs by the skin of my teeth, but it's just been a dreadful, dreadful year for me in fantasy, and I will be glad to see this season go. I think I'm going to take it back a notch and, not be in as many leagues as I am. I think 2 is probably a good number to have for fantasy league teams. When you get up towards like 4 and 5, it's just way too much to keep up with. So it's just, not that it affects my teams, but it's just too crazy. So I'm glad that this fantasy season's starting to wrap up and, on to the next one. Because there's always next year.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, I appreciate you Google what is it called? Hangout? Yeah, doing a little
Google Hangout
with me. We should definitely do it again. We'll probably do one before the Christmas break.
We're going to try to get one out.
Next time, I'll throw it to you to sign off for this episode.
Yeah, next time we're still going to try to get another one out before Christmas, just so we get one more, because I plan on at the very beginning of this year, right after the first, I think I'm going to develop our website, and we're going to get that website up and running, the TMTpodcast.com. And then that way our episodes will be a lot more easily accessible. And so until then, though, you can reach us at twomentalkingpodcast@gmail.com if you want to email us any suggestions or for the show or anything like that. And that's the number 2 at the beginning. And then also you can reach us at Twitter at twomentalkingpod, and that's another number 2 at the beginning, at twomentalkingpod. So until next time, for Patrick Newcomb, I'm Jonathan Hewitt. Thank you for listening, and be sure to stay classy.